So, okay.
If you want to silence everybody as board president, you hit the purple button. No, seriously, like, if, you can, I think that's to shut everybody off. I think. Yeah, right? Yeah, so yeah, I want to.
Well, I'm not doing that. Anyway, I would like to call this meeting to order. And anything else that I need to say?
To read the meeting notice.
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right.
And you can read it off the paper in front of you. I think I gave you a paper copy too.
Okay. This is a work session meeting of the Board of Education. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. A schedule of the regular meetings at the board was adopted at the board meeting January 8th, 2026. The schedule and notice of said meetings have been posted and are maintained at the school administrative offices, 100 Lees Avenue, mailed to the Retrospect and the Courier Post, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Collingswood. All of the foregoing has been done within the time required by law in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, 1975. Roll call.
Mrs. Brown is absent. Mr. Chu?
Here.
Mr. Craig?
Here.
Mrs. DeMarco?
Here.
Mrs. Maya?
Here.
Mrs. Mikulski?
Here.
Mrs. Sherman?
Here.
Mrs. Z?
Here.
Mr. McMillan?
Here.
Mr. Dilkus?
Here.
Mrs. Devine?
Here.
Okay.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so there is no executive session at this time. So do I need to do a resolution for executive session or just pass by that?
Yeah, there's no need, so you can just
No
go
need
into
for
committee of the whole.
resolutions? Okay, motion to come out of executive session. That's an all in favor, right?
Oh, there was no closed session. She just go right past it.
All right, good.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so committee of the whole, section 3, committee of the whole, board member topics. So do I need to make a motion to open this? Okay,
Yes.
so let's see. All right. So the committee of the whole will review and discuss the January 6, 2026 agenda. So can I have a motion to enter committee of the whole?
So moved. Second.
Okay. That's it?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So first section is 4.01, important dates and upcoming meetings. So there is a, let's see if I need to read anything for that. All right. So as everybody can see, there's a whole list of dates, important dates from January to February. So I spent some time today putting most of the stuff in my calendar. So go ahead and put some things in your calendar if you would like to attend any of these events coming up.
I have a question.
Yep.
Okay. Are we really having a roundtable on Friday? Are we having a board roundtable on Friday night of the 6th? We don't usually have one on Fridays. That's why I'm asking. Says Friday 6th, February 6th, BOE roundtable.
Yeah, I
6:30.
see. Is that an old date? No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Thank you for the
but I
catch.
just wanted to double check.
And no, I'll take it
because-
off.
Okay.
That might have been an old date thrown around. I don't know where
Yeah,
this came
no,
from.
that's fine. Okay, thank you.
No, thanks.
Can I
Thanks,
also
Mary.
ask, are we going to continue with the roundtables? Or is that something that we're going to be maybe hashing out in retreat? I just thought they were really informative, maybe not super well attended, but available to the public, so.
We completely agree. They were very informative, and we definitely do plan to do that. We are going to discuss this at the retreat as well, but some ideas that we're talking about are maybe starting to have roundtable discussions at other places, like at each school, and be more of a presence in the community. So we'll keep you posted on that, but we would love for you all to be there if you can. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay.
Okay, so are there any, I guess, Black History Month events for February upcoming?
There will be. We'll get you all that information.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to section.
I'm sorry, I just want to,
Sorry.
I do know that, I'm sure some schools are planning things. I know, Roger, I know Garfield is planning a bunch of stuff, both in the school and sharing it with the PTA, so.
Just on that note, if I can just say something real quick, we were talking about inviting the PTAs to come to the meetings, at least somebody, we're going to have that conversation with them so that they can give us an update on all the things that they're doing, you know, and what's happening in the school, so that might help some of that too when we know what's going on with the PTAs and what they're planning. But nothing is in, it's just something, just them coming up and just sharing what's happening, not necessarily a formal presentation, but just, you know, I haven't talked to any of them yet, so they're seeing this, I'm sure, but I'm going to be reaching out to them and let them know that, like, we would like to have them come and just say what's happening in their schools, you know? Yeah.
What Oakland does, I know Jimmy, you're going to say this, but they actually have a liaison from the board who's like on the PTA, and like they go to the PTA meetings, and then at the Oakland board meetings they report out on all the events too. So that might be something you can do. Works pretty well in Oakland. They do a whole
Yeah, we were
report every
talking
month.
about
Yeah.
maybe adding that in there, but I would like to talk more about it at the retreat with everybody for sure. Yeah.
Can I just a process question before we get too deep in here? Is the plan tonight just to go through every item that's listed on this agenda in order?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just think there's opportunity. Maybe we discuss it at the retreat or somewhere else to do this maybe more efficiently. But
Yeah, this is our first time doing it. I've got
Sure.
the attorney here. This way, if you have any hiccups or if there's a faster or more efficient way for us to do it, hopefully he can chime in.
Okay.
And then if we even want to change out, like we were even discussing today in the admin team, we did a review of the agenda before tonight because we're still adding stuff as we're going. I looked at Cherry Hills, I looked at Haddon Township, because there's a couple districts also do this, but everybody does their agenda completely differently. In Haddon Township, they do their meetings all in one night. They do the committee of the whole for like an hour and a half, and then they jump right into the regular meeting. So you're out one night, but you do like the whole committee discussion, and then you go right into like voting on the agenda items and presentations, and then they go home. So if we want to, fine tune how we do the agenda or how we organize this, we can discuss that.
What we talked about during agenda review was not going line by line. We didn't believe that would be appropriate use of board members' time. And so what we would like, I guess, to propose for the board to consider for the first session is when we get to each section, maybe we have a brief kind of like summary, because we are public, a brief summary of the roles and responsibilities of that particular committee. Give board members time to either scan or read through some of the agenda items, and then open it up for active discussion, which we believe during agenda review, because when we went through line by line, it took a long period of time. We feel the purpose of committee of the whole is for board members to be able to do more talking rather than listening. And so if you are amenable to that, that would be our recommendation for how to structure this first meeting, and then we can make refinements during the board retreat if that doesn't work for the board.
Does anybody have any comments about any of that was just said? So tonight, we're just going to do it like we're doing it currently, and then we'll revise as time goes on.
Yeah, as we get to each section, like I'm going first, obviously, as the BA, so I'll kind of do like I normally have done and I'll explain what's on there, and then if you guys wanted to take a few minutes to open the financial documents, and then any questions you have, I obviously can answer them, so. I can be the guinea pig, that's fine.
So I think we're moving on to section 5, which is routine business and approval of the minutes.
Yeah, so all 3 sets of minutes have been posted. It's this December meeting and then both reorgs, so just review those before next week, is all.
We have no student board reps tonight, so we're going to pass over that. And now we're at section 7, the superintendent's report.
So, this will be a little bit different, and so, in general, for your review, attached are the attendance, the enrollment, the safety drill, suspension, and anti-bullying. And next week during the formal meeting will be, more of a full report out. We like to, get direct information from all of our schools leading up to the open meeting. And so we'll be getting more information from our schools over the next week. But each of those are attached. And in general, as with the regular open meeting, if you have questions about content, we're more than happy to discuss.
Fred, I have one question. Normally with the HIB reports, the board receives the report at the first meeting after the reports are done. They don't take any action on those reports. Then the second meeting is when they take action to approve, disapprove, whatever. Does this meeting count as the first report to the board, and then we act upon it on Monday, or is it?
We have both. So,
But if, whatever we decide, we should make sure we follow that procedure.
Right, so like in item 7, I believe that would be, correct me if I'm wrong, those are like the recent, the January reported, and then in item 15, miscellaneous, or not, wait, 13.01, that was the previous month, so that's what we're voting on that. The first one is informational, and then item 13 is what was reported last month, and they're voting on.
So on Monday, you're going to act upon item 13.
Yes. The
And-
previous month's HIB reports, December's HIB report.
And what's going to happen with the reports on number 7.04? What, are those reports going to be first reported on Monday night and then acted upon in February?
Yes.
Got it. Okay,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
Okay, just make sure. Make sure I said it right. That's all.
A question about this month's SIB report, not talking about specific or anything, but there is, I think, a more serious record in there, and I'm not sure if we should have an executive session before next board meeting, if there is, I guess, issues that the board needs to be aware of. I'm not sure, but wanted to put that out there in case.
Yeah, I
Dr.
wanted-
Lau, you think that we need to discuss.
I was going to similarly ask, given some of the topics in the agenda, that do we need an executive session to actually get more information around them, particularly later in the personnel section? So I just want to make sure that we're really clear on creating space. I just can't remember anything, but the HIB in particular. And I guess I want to just backtrack on process. What I understand is this is the committee meeting. So if historically we had a committee meeting, it would then be at the board meeting where you're taking action on them. So I'm not sure if that's what I just heard that we said we would do from a process perspective. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear. We've just simply consolidated committee meetings into one. This is our first review. The action is Monday's meeting. Okay, just making sure.
I think that's a little off, because it's
Yeah,
not,
that-
that's on the previous month, so December's HIB, not January's HIB.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. That would still be voted or approved in the February, or the March meeting, then, correct? Or February, excuse me. Have my
So
public meetings mixed up.
So then should the agenda for January include January's, it's for the committee, it includes January, that will be seen in February, but this Monday's meeting will actually be December's.
Yeah, there's 2 items. 7 is current month, kind of like letting you know, right? And then item 13 is prior month, where you vote on the resolution of the HIBs that are in the report. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what's in 7 will then move.
Because we would
Next
normally
month.
vote in 7 anyway. That's just information for us to,
Correct,
have when we
correct.
vote on it, yeah.
Right.
So about the executive session, do we need to talk about doing that now next week?
Well, we can't discuss that here, right, because it's specific, but my question was whether or not, I guess, if Dr. Adal thought that it was needed for us to discuss one of those cases or not.
No, with this structure, and so one of the things that we talked about as a leadership team is exercising the appropriate discipline. We shouldn't be talking about specific students or staff at all, without staff being riced. And so I think what you have in front of you is the information. Going deeper, I'll defer to Joe. We wouldn't be, this wouldn't be, this wouldn't be the
Right.
venue for us to go
Well,
deeper.
My question was whether or not it, like, we should do a executive session before the regular monthly meeting, if it's needed to discuss one of these cases that, in the report. I don't know if you think that there's a need for us to discuss it in more detail or
The
not.
case, I know the case you're referring to, the staff handled it appropriately. It was reported appropriately by the staff member. The investigation took a pretty considerable amount of time. It involved multiple families. And then there was a restorative remedy and an educational portion added as part of this process. And the school did a good job of addressing a really challenging situation.
Okay, thank you.
If this is the same one, we're waiting on a police report, though, to be finalized?
So by state law, based on the nature of the incident, it has to be reported to local law enforcement. We don't have that information back yet. They would not share that with us until it has been concluded, the investigation's concluded. No, no. Yes, yep.
Okay, so no executive session next week for that. Thank you for the information.
I was going to ask about something different, so, okay. I have a question about the suspensions, the report. Can I ask, I mean, it's not specific to a person, so, there's 2 on here for, like, substance, marijuana, suspensions. Is there what else is done with those kind of, like, infractions? I mean, counseling, is there legal ramifications, just suspended? I'm just curious on kind of
It's, so, I believe last year, when the board updated its code of conduct policy, paired with that the restorative code of conduct guide for schools, it provided a much higher degree of flexibility for schools to be able to support students that have made poor decisions on a case-by-case basis. I can't speak to the specifics of this particular child, but I can go back to the school leader, get more details, and I can share with you a summary of what took place with that child.
I'm not even looking for something like specific on these. I just saw the incidences and just curious overall if, I guess it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Correct.
And, you just take appropriate action as required and as the admin team.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, you had something? Okay. Okay, moving on to section 8, that's the business administrator, board secretary report, so I'll pass it over to Bethany.
Okay, so bear with me, because mine is like the document-heavy section. So in item 8.01 is the listing of your December monthly budget transfers, so if any of you guys want to open them. I just realized we have some board members, so what I typically have done, if you sat on the Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee, I did a separate training for board members on how to read my financial statements. So I apologize, all this is changing quickly, but if anybody wants to, I know I've trained Roger, I know I've trained Matt, I know I've trained Jimmy, I know Megan and Kelly, but if anybody like... I've literally trained, I think I know, if anybody wants to like spend a half an hour with me on how to read them, because I know you certify every month that you've looked at them and you're certifying over expenditures and whatever, just so, let me know if anybody wants to be trained in them. But what I do in item 8.02, if you will open it up with me, the very first document, and I've started doing this, thank Jimmy Hatzel for this, but I started doing this 18 years ago. Just my little tick and flicks on there, that's my way of letting you know, like, that the balance is represented as ending cash balances agree to a bank rec that's on file in the board office, right? And the double ticks on the bottom, so where it says subtotal Fund 10, 5.3 million. If you go to page 2, you'll see where I tie the number out for you really quickly. And of course, the balance sheet should balance, so you see where I tick and flick. But at a minimum, I want you guys to at least open this up every month, because I'm presenting that cash is fairly represented. And then if you just page through this document, you're getting a very quick training on how to read these things. If you get to the expense portion of the board secretary's report, it's a very large report, it's like 40 pages. But when it gets to the expense detail, all the way to the right-hand side where it says available balance, should be positive. Because when I'm saying no line account's been overexpended, so you shouldn't see any negatives in the expense accounts. If so, then I didn't do my job properly. But that's what you're certifying every month. So at a minimum, just open this up and just take a look. Feel free to ask me any questions. The December board report that you'll be approving Monday night or Wednesday if we have bad weather, that does go to the county office. Our financials will go to the county twice a year. So this one will be going to the county office. And then in items 8.03, I also give you every month just an update of the student activity cash reports. We manage about $500,000 on any given day based on all the student activity student activity counts throughout the district, the high school being the largest. So this is just an update of all of the balances and all the related student activity accounts throughout the entire school district. And item 8.04 is the food service financial statement. I give this to you every month as well, because we shouldn't be running a deficit in the food service program, and it does give you an update on the charges. I know we track charges. I know the finance committee in the last couple of years, I do present this to them every month because we just keep an eye up on the amount of charges. And then the finance committee is used to hearing the speech, but 8.05 and 8.06, they're probably going to be up by Friday. We're still getting purchase orders, and I'm still collecting invoices for warrants. So those go up usually end of business on Friday to be part of the public meeting on Monday, because I'm still building the agenda. Okay, so that's kind of my spiel. But and if anybody wants a more in-depth, like how do I look at these financial statement things, let me know. And you can spend an hour with me being bored. I find it incredibly fun. I find numbers absolutely wonderful, but some people are like, want to die. Anyway, so then 9.01 through 9.08 are all those items I just talked about. And then we get into the meat of my agenda items. 9.09 is we're accepting the audit. The auditor will be present on Monday and then Wednesday if it's bad weather. I keep saying that. He will be there to present the audit. But the audit was conducted. The delay was due to the federal government's delay in publishing, because we get so much federal money. There's like a separate audit you need when you get so much federal money. Due to what was going on with the government shutdown, they delayed the audit rules for that. But anyway, our audit is done. It is filed with the state. I just need a board resolution. There were no audit findings, but the auditor will give more of a presentation for you on Monday. But attached to this is a copy of the audit synopsis. The audit, the entire audit is the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. That's like 300 pages. But the good one for board members to read is the AMR. That's the Auditor's Management Report. That gives you like a really good idea of what's going on in the business office and the finances of the district. So I recommend you guys read that. But anyway, so this will be on for Monday night. And then 9.10. This came in from Child Study Team. It's just approving Home Care Therapies LLC to provide a one-to-one skilled nursing 2 hours a day for a child in the district. 9.11, we have a couple secretarial vacancies right now in the district. So I realized when we looked at our the ESS contract, we had like subs for everything, right? Even subs for principals, but we didn't have subs for administrative assistants. So this is adding this addendum to our current contract, so we can get secretarial subs. Hard to find, and hard to find like on a regular basis right now. So we just,
Beth Ann.
Yeah.
So right now, when our admin assistants are out, what happens?
right now, buildings are covering. I know my old executive assistant, right now, she's been covering preschool, their vacancies. She's been coming in at least 3 or 4 days a week, covering them. But this will give us more people to pull from. Because I know we approve every year, we approve a list of subs in all different areas, but we just, as the building staff who are here know, it's hard to fill subs. So-
Yeah,
So
I
this
was
is
gonna
one
say,
area
if
that
you-
we were kind of blind to when we did
Yeah.
the addendum all those years ago. So this is just adding this class of employee to that, so
Yeah.
we can get more people.
Okay, I was gonna ask if like ESS, do we feel that they would like, can have that many, like subs for admin?
I would caution Mr. DeMarco from discussing ESS.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but yeah, we reached out to them. They actually proposed a higher rate, but I wanted to be in line with what we currently pay the people that we board approve. And then as we go into the next budget year, when everybody's rates change, then we can change them all. But yeah, I'm knocking on wood, we can hopefully fill some of the gaps that we have. So that's what that item is. 9.12 is an annual approval. It's just our annual approval with Ed Data Services. It's $7,110. It's an annual approval. That's that big purchasing co-op where we buy a lot of our stuff. Yes?
Ms. Cologne, I think there's maybe a typo in that one.
What? Where?
Oh, so it says it's $7,110, but then it says 4 installments of $7,110.
Oh, yeah, I will fix that right now. Thank you. It is not 4 installments. It's literally just.
It's right in the agreement, I think. It's just
Okay. So yeah, and then last year we saved about $149,000 by just they go out and they bid everything, and we just jump onto their bid. 9.13 is approving Leonard Educational Services to provide services for child study team on an as-needed basis, and the attached schedule of fees. It's about 3 pages long. The fee schedule's on the very last page. 9.14 this is a generous donation of just shy of $4,000 from Fresh Fly Productions. They're sponsoring the Paws TV art trip to New York City next Friday. So that's a very generous donation. And the next 2 items, items 15 and 16, are use of facilities for Odyssey of the Mind with the borough. There's 2 different applications because they're two different sets of dates that they're looking for. And all the paperwork is attached, including insurance. And then just some, under my discussion area, I just, again, I already said this, but the auditor will be present. And then there's an update from our food service. They always send us a monthly update on activities in their program. And then on behalf of Mr. Longo, who's currently doing our projecting, the parking proposal for the secondary is attached, where we're adding 3 additional visitor spots and 1 additional handicapped. The finance, buildings, and grounds, we've discussed this in the past. And the local rec improvement grant, if the board is interested, we've done it in the past. We've done the baseball fields and the basketball court.
baseball this year, and then last year was basketball.
Right, so it comes out every winter. There is a new round of the local rec improvement grant. The local rec improvement grant requires a local contribution. So what we are considering very early on in the budget is the tennis court renovation. We did the tennis courts when I got here 18 years ago, and they haven't been touched. We patch them, we do what we can, but so just part of discussions when we do the budget, we do have some capital reserve funds that we could use for our local contribution. Early pricing looks us probably over 200. Yeah, so early discussion, but we do have capital reserve for these smaller type projects that we can use. But I just wanted everybody to be aware that as we dig a little deeper, as we're looking at our entire complex, athletic and otherwise, we might have to do a reinvestment in our tennis courts pretty quickly. Yeah, we have a new governor coming in, so we might want to snatch. And they've been pretty good with us. Like if our bids come in higher or lower, or, yeah, I know the basketball, we had to change our documents a couple times because we couldn't get the product within the dollar amount that we were awarded in the grant. So they do work with us. So they don't, like, after a year expires, they don't say we're taking our money back. They kind of extended it. They want you to spend it, yeah.
Is it DOE or is it a different? It's DCA.
Department of Community
Okay,
Affairs, yeah.
Could you talk, I know it's probably early, but I guess if the grant's due on the February 13th, like, what kind of work would we be looking at getting done out there?
They would tear up the entire tennis court surface and resurface it, all 9 courts.
That do the fencing as well, then, would that be replaced? Just the courts?
Just the court itself, yep. The tennis court fence is in decent shape, but the tennis court itself is deteriorating rather quickly.
How about the nets, John?
The
How about
nets,
the nets?
We replace the nets every year.
Just that soft, they have that softer surface now on the tennis courts, and it's very expensive.
They get used 7 days a week by the school, by rec, by just town people. So and they always play on the same court. If you notice, the first 2 courts are pretty bad. So
How's drainage now? Would this be something that would affect?
drainage is
affect?
fine.
Okay.
But it'll level the surface a little better. It has some dead spots from wear and tear.
Can you review real quick, the parking proposal for everybody that was not on the Buildings and Grounds
Yeah,
when we
so,
heard about this?
Well, as you can see, we have a lot of parking issues. This proposal will not fix that. This is primarily just for during school hours. So currently we have 1 visitor spot, which is not enough to hold, like, for 2 campuses. So this will add 3, giving us 4 visitor spots, and then this will also add an additional handicap spot. And it brings all the handicap spots closer to our ADA ramps and entrances. Because now they're currently, most of them are by the softball. So that brings those 3 or 4 into the current lot, and then adds an additional to give us a total of 7 handicap spots.
Is that gonna blow out the walk-in cooler that's there right now?
No, nope,
Okay.
nope. It just moves all so all the admins currently park in that center lot. It moves them out to along the softball parking, and then just adds everybody to that.
So it's just
It's
like
just
reorganizing, yeah, not
reorganizing,
actually adding new, got it.
The nurses will stay there because they're can't move them too far. But yeah, it brings them closer to the AD ramp, and they should be as close to the buildings as possible.
So with your approval, again, we're probably gonna build this into the Buildings and Grounds budget for next year. Yeah, we do a lot of it ourselves. Yeah,
We can do all this in-house, it's
just the materials.
and
Yeah,
moving with some signs.
absolutely.
Spring, yeah, I'll probably be summer, because I'll probably start the year with the new layout, not throwing a wrench into it.
Won't do anything until after graduation. Promise.
Well, all that too, so the current softball will be adjusted at some point because of when the construction does.
Yeah,
The dumpster area will be moved to actually where the handicap spots are currently. So they would have to move down the line anyway, so this kind of just pushes that.
okay, and
When
John,
would the tennis courts be done again?
I'm sorry?
When would the tennis courts be done again?
That would have to kind of revolve around the tennis season.
and if we get the grant,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we get chosen for the grant, but probably summer, we could probably manage that.
so what we'll do is John and we'll get working on the grant. Because hopefully we will hear back from them before the final budget is submitted. So we'll know, A, if we're approved, and then what our contribution would be.
Back in March.
Yeah. Budgets are due March 19th, with the final budget going April. So yeah, we'll get working on that document, and hopefully we get some funding.
That'll be for a co-op, so we won't have to go out to bid.
Perfect. Thanks, John. And that is it for me. Any questions on anything? We're still building the agenda, so if any contracts or anything come in, Usually said this at the end of all my finance committees, but if I add anything to the agenda, I'll let the board know, so you guys can take a look at it, because we're still building as we go. Okay?
I just wanted to thank you and John for working on that grant. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm up next for Section 10, Curriculum and Instruction. I have 3 or 4 updates that I'll just share verbally, but I'll give you a chance to just skim items 10.01 through 10.05. It's a pretty light agenda this month of some field trip approvals to some fun destinations for our students and one home instruction placement for a student for a medical reason. So I'll just pause for a moment so you can skim those items, and then I'll share some other updates. Good enough? All right. I just have a few updates from our department, and then I'll take any questions. The Academic Calendar Committee began meeting last week. This is to develop the 26-27 and maybe the 27-28 academic calendars. Like last year, you'll recall that we set out with a goal to develop a unified Collingswood and Oakland school calendar that had consistency across pre-K through 12 across both districts. Also, like last year, we have a group of about 13 volunteer folks who raised their hand to say they wanted to serve on the academic calendar working group committee with me. And again, like last year, that intentionally pulls in a range of diverse perspectives and backgrounds and experiences, from folks like building and grounds to pre-K through the high schools, just so we can make sure that we have a range of perspectives from administrators to teachers and everything in between, to make sure that we are kind of looking at it from a holistic perspective. One thing that we will be doing different this year, as an elementary mom myself with 2 kids at Zane, I can share that I am intimately aware of half days and the tension and stress that puts on families. So when I wear my mom hat, I understand that fully. When I put on my assistant superintendent hat, I can argue around how important half days are for the professional development time that it allows for our staff. Obviously, there's a tension there, and we recognize that. And so tomorrow, staff and elementary staff and families will receive a survey so that they can, if they choose, provide some input and perspective and feedback to the committee so that we can consider perhaps a different or better way forward with regard to how we structure half days, particularly for the elementary report card conference weeks. And so look out for that. Look out for those communications. If you are a current elementary staff or a current elementary family, we're looking for input and perspective to help inform how we design the calendar. Number 2 update from me is we are, believe it or not, already at the midpoint of our academic year. We are just around the 90th day of school, which means that half of the year is behind us and half of the year is ahead of us. And so it's time for our mid-year universal screeners for reading and math across K through 11th grade. Seniors are exempt. And so you might hear students talking about their reading test at Dibbles at the elementary level, or their MAP test in math at the elementary through 11th grade levels. This is just key, you've heard me share this before, this is essential information that our staff uses. We have our February PDs coming up on the 12th and 13th that directly are situated right after this assessment window, so the teachers actually have the time to pause, reflect, analyze, and plan and work together to put in motion plans to support students for the second half of the year. And as we have done now, I think on 3 or 4 different occasions, families will receive those student score reports on Friday, February 20th, to make sure that we are using the data internally to plan, but also equipping families with that information to support your students' growth at home. And then last but not least, on Monday, the elementary school leaders, pre-K through 5th grade, will be, it's not included on here yet, just giving a heads up, we'll be giving a programmatic update, as they've done in years past, talking about key initiatives, highlights, celebrations. So look forward to that on Monday evening or Wednesday if it snows. I'll take any questions.
For the calendar planning, do you anticipate how late Labor Day is this year coming into play?
Yes, our first meeting was last week, and we spent, I'm looking to see, so Robin's on this, there's some people here who on the committee, we spent a lot of time talking about elementary report card conferences and when we can start school. A lot of time.
So, for calendar, thank you for putting it online. So it's just now on our phones if you utilize this. So thank you. I appreciate that. It's really wonderful and helpful. Thank you for involving the community a little bit more, as much as you can, for calendar working groups, and updates in the survey and stuff. So I just wanted to send that out. And then also, universal screeners. Questions on how long they typically take for either a class or a student. Is it just you get one class period? And I guess I'm more thinking like class periods, like middle school, like do you get one class period? Is it a week? Like, can you just explain that real quick? All right.
So anytime we're testing kids, we know that there's a balance of that means that they're not learning new content or reviewing prior content. And so obviously we have a sort of a strategic eye towards balancing the need to get new data about how kids are doing, but not so taking so much learning time away that it is further impacting that, right? So it's a balancing act, certainly. A Dibbles test takes around 8 to 10 minutes. That is given at the lower grade levels, that is given individually, one-on-one, kids sitting with a teacher. And so the testing window for the testing window for the whole thing is about 13 days long. That is intentionally because the Dibbles testing is given individually. And at the upper grade levels, they do take a whole group component that can be given all at once. MAP testing has been an area, as we've implemented MAP over the last year. I've been learning more, we've been learning more. Families and staff have asked us about how much time is the appropriate amount of time to allocate for this assessment. And so one of the things that I'll just speak for myself, one of the things that I've been making sure that I know and understand is you can't get a perfect score on a MAP test. So a kid could work for hours and hours over the course of days and days, but it's an adaptive test. You can only ever get half the questions right. The test is trying to, if you get a question right, the next question is harder. If you get that one right, the next question is trying to find that sweet spot of like the just right learning zone for a student. And so as I've learned more about how the test works, what we've been able to do is shorten the testing window to 2 class periods. We're doing that right now. When we first tried it last year, it took a long time when we were implementing it. And then towards the end of the year and the start of this year, we had 4 or 5 days. Very clearly now has been communicated to staff 2 class periods, keep it moving. And so we hope that allows us to kind of thread the needle of giving some time to collect important new information, but not, pulling away from the normal cadence of learning. So always open to more feedback about how we can strike that balance better.
While we're on that topic, what's the reasoning for the exemption of seniors on those testing?
We didn't exempt seniors last year, but it was some of the feedback that we received from staff and leaders about particularly with the number of seniors who are in AP classes and the really tight scheduling in terms of how much content needs to be covered by early May when AP tests occur, and that anytime kind of pulling away from the very tightly paced scope and sequence for AP classes. So that was just an area of feedback that we received last year. I think that could also be considered for juniors perhaps next year and going forward. We do have quite a large number of juniors who are in AP classes. So that's one reason for the exemption for seniors. And we'll keep fine-tuning it, keep listening, and making subtle tweaks as we go forward.
I just wanted to ask, building on the inclusion and the criteria, and are all students, including those in special, included in the universal screener assessment?
Yeah, great question. Just, by nature of a universal means all, and so every student is taking the DIBELS or MAP assessment. There's a sort of a very minor carve out for a student who is in that 1% of students who would sit for the DLM, which is the dynamic learning something, which is the alternative version of of a state assessment. So it's for the students who need a very, very different type of assessment based on their IEP and learning needs. So the only carve out to that question would be that. What we're also doing this time around with MAP is ensuring that, I'll give you an, we have students who are in self-contained learning classrooms at the 10th, 11th grade level, who have levels of academic performance who are more on perhaps an elementary learning level. And so we are trying to get that sweet spot of assigning a MAP assessment to align to students' present learning needs. And so we hope that, again, that includes all students and informs us of their learning needs based on that. That would be within their IEP's learning levels.
I just had a quick question. It's not something that you mentioned, but I know it's coming up, and our district is already talking about it. The new SLA and NJGPA platform, the Cambium assessment platform. I mean, have you guys gotten like the dates of that set from the state? I know it's in March is the testing window, I believe. And did you? And I assume you did the field placement testing and everything went okay with that.
So yeah, every school district in New Jersey is going on this journey together with a new testing platform. Yet again, yes. We did field testing in the spring, which was a really helpful learning exercise. Those testing there's a very long window for testing in the spring, and typically we test in late April and early May.
Meredith, last month we had talked about implementing a new grading policy for the secondary schools, and you had said there was going to be a presentation forthcoming. Is that, I don't see it this month, is that going to be something for the retreat maybe?
That will be included in the program of study, which will be up for board approval next month. Yep.
So we'll have an opportunity to talk about it at committee of the whole beforehand. Thank you.
Okay, so we have hit personnel.
So, really quick run through in terms of personnel. The way that it's organized, we have our travel expense form. We have a grant-funded stipend for one of our mental illness screeners. We have an employee referral stipend, and so I believe last year we established a program in order to as a recruitment tool, and so when staff qualify for that, we distribute the stipends. Similar to that as a retention tool and recruitment, student teaching. And so we have a myriad of master level teachers across all of our schools. When they graciously accept a student teacher, there is a small incentive just as a thank you for the time commitment to support that student. We have one retirement, very sad retirement. We have one staff resignation and one coaching resignation. And we have a series of medical leaves, section 09 and 10, and then the corresponding replacements for those leaves. And then we have a series of FMLA that is listed here by employee number. And we will be now opening it up for questions.
So we want to remind the board that this is a kind of a delicate area for asking questions about agenda items regarding employees, so just be mindful of that. General questions to the superintendent, certainly that's welcome, but specific employees, just have to be careful.
What's with the varsity baseball recruitment for that position, what does that look like? Because I think at the middle school level, we had a community volunteer last year. Do we think we'll have somebody from within staff, or are we looking outside?
So we met with the athletic director yesterday. She actively recruits year-round. And so right now, we are actively recruiting. Normally, we find the best candidates through referral of staff and other coaches. And so she's going through that network right now to see who's available, who's interested. And we've got fingers crossed. We're also going to leverage the relationships of the exiting coach. The exiting coach is exiting because they will be moving into administration. And it would not be appropriate for them to continue coaching and to also be an administrator. So we are happy to continue to grow and promote from within, but I know the kids will be sad to have to train a new coach.
I have a question about the travel expenses. There's two virtual events that were taken for the Intervention OG Lift virtual course. I don't know what that is. I decided to look it up, and I saw pricing at $1,600, but it's at $1,750 here. I didn't know if there was like $150 allowance that was added to that or something, but that just struck my interest. I'm not trying to pinch pennies, but also trying to pinch pennies.
Say we can triple check to make sure that's not a typo or anything, Jimmy. But that is like the Cadillac of early elementary science of reading trainings, and so we've been working our way through getting staff trained in that program, and like thrilled that more want to. It's a lot of time. It's like a master's level course smashed into like a really short period of time. It's heavy. So we'll just double check the pricing.
Yeah, clearly there's different vendors that sell different things, so probably somebody just had it marked up higher or whatever. But I just wanted to bring up that I saw it for $1,600. So.
Any other questions related to personnel?
Okay, so it looks like we are up to the policy section, and I don't believe there's anything listed currently. No? Okay.
No, we did receive a packet from Strauss Esme right when we got back. Nice thick one, so there'll be some policies. I just went through them the other day, so they'll be up for first read next month.
So one quick note, because it's come up in a couple of our meetings. And so now that our team is whole again, we had some folks who were out on leave. Now that our team is whole, the engagement process with the Artificial Intelligence Task Force, that work will take place this semester. The goal is to have a formal policy and AI plan recommendation for the board in time for us to not only budget for it, but also go into the summer planning and preparing for the training connected to it. And so the board should expect to have a policy probably for the May meeting with second reading for the June meeting.
is there a schedule to get that like revised like annually? Because that whole system's moving so fast. Like maybe even a biannual review, or at least annual, because again, it's moving so fast.
Good idea. State hasn't really given a lot of guidance, and so some of the early adopters that adopted an AI plan in 2023, they're still using that particular plan. We've not received any additional guidance. So,
Considering the cell phone law that was recently passed by Governor Murphy, I assume we're just in compliance with that. I just wondered if there was anything, 'cause I know that the State Board of Ed was going to be getting together to kind of come up with some guidelines, but I assume that we're, not.
We haven't gotten any regulations yet, so.
Yeah, and I know that, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume we're in total compliance with that, considering the yonder pouches, but I guess we're just going to have to
I
wait
don't
and
put
see.
the middle school.
so our existing on the books policies, electronic devices have never been allowed. And so the enforcement of the existing policies on the book is what we're doing. It looks different at the high school than it does at all of our other campuses, but this new law makes it easier, easier to enforce. And so as we get guidance, and so, I mean, there is a new commissioner coming from Texas, and so we will wait for additional guidance that will be forthcoming.
It doesn't look like that's effective until next school year, anyway, yeah. So because they'll have to go through a rulemaking period for all that, so.
Okay, so now we're at section 13, the HIB reports for the previous month. Anybody have any questions about any of that, if we are allowed to ask any of that?
Do you know one? Yeah.
And then thank you, Sarah, the chronic absenteeism coercive action plan for 25-26 is 13.02.
So that section is currently blank, and so we have, not all schools will be completing a corrective action plan, because not all schools fall within that threshold. And so any school that has over 10% of chronic absenteeism is required to complete a plan. And so fortunately, we have made for the second year attendance a priority in our schools, and so some of our schools are, they don't have to complete this particular assignment. And so Dr. Walker and the rest of the team, we're currently reviewing the plans that have been submitted, providing feedback. And so the goal is those that have gone through the appropriate review process, you would see next week, and the ones that are still being edited, you would see in the following month, in February.
Anybody have any questions? All right, so now we have our public participation. Okay. So this is our opportunity for public comment. Before we move on to that section, 14, just a quick question on public participation. Do we know where, is that going to fall earlier on in the agenda for the regular meeting? Yeah, okay, all right. So if you have a comment, please stand, state your name and address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The public is reminded that attempts to resolve all concerns and complaints should first go through the appropriate staff members and administrators. Seeing as we have no one coming up for public comment, then I guess we're going to move to section 15, unless anybody has any comments or anything about anything before we do that.
I have actually two questions, just sort of process procedure type thing, just because this was our first time. One is, so, I'll use myself as an example tonight. I gave maybe like a 8 or 10 minute spiel. I don't know how long a couple minute. Is that something, if we use that as an example, and I know like Beth Ann usually does that, Fred usually, do that all again next week? Or this was the occasion to share that? I'm just trying to think about. Okay, got it. And if we're not this month, but if we were going to have an executive session to discuss personnel or any other, but particularly if we were going to discuss personnel, what's the advanced timeline that someone would need to receive a rice notice before 2 business days?
48 hours.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
Just wanted to give a quick update. We had a follow-up meeting today with a parent group talking about the school lunch program. So I want to thank the parents. One of them sitting back there, Kara, you'll get a shout out. Make sure you're awake back there. 4 parents were able to come join us, administrative staff and representatives from NutriServe. It was a good kind of first formal meeting with everybody sitting down, kind of understanding what some short-term goals, some potential long-term goals could be of the group, and ways that they can continue to work with administration to understand ways we can continue to keep getting like fresh fruit, vegetables, healthy options in front of kids, but then also understanding the real fiscal obstacles to some of the food options we would love to see in our buildings. So I think there was some really good discussion about some things we could do in the short term. Like they talked about one that seemed to really interest the group was they did like a tasting options. This was pre-COVID, where they had NutriServe came out and they had kids. This was in Oakland, come and try different menu items and give their opinions and give feedback. So that was really interesting. Another, I think, eye-opening thing for me was that I think it was the menu for next school year was set back in the fall of last year. So thinking about changes to food systems just because of all the ordering that has to happen and the procurement of food and supplies and just how much harder that is now than maybe it was even in the past requires a lot of build-up. So things to consider as we're thinking about any changes we might want to suggest as the board. And then lastly, just long-term, I think it was a commitment to continue to meet to discuss what could be possible as we look at the future and making sure that we have good options for our kids here in the schools.
Thank you, Matt. I'd also like to commend our new board leadership team. We had 2 transition sessions last week, one with the board president, vice president, and district administration, and the second meeting with board leadership, district leadership, and borough leadership to really talk about continuance of partnerships and the opportunities for future opportunities, the interest in future opportunities that was also discussed. Looking forward to continuing discussions with the leadership team as well of the board and the borough. Just wanted to make sure that we were acknowledging that they are hitting the ground running. They're asking really good questions and rolling up their sleeves. So thank you.
Thank you, and Matt, a huge thank you to you for having that conversation with the community and NutriServe and bridging that gap and making strides in what we're giving our kids. I appreciate that, and thank you very much for the shout out. And we're all going to be talking about all of those things at the retreat, like I said in the email. So, if you have anything that you'd like to bring up or have us touch base on, please reach out to us and let us know. Happy to have your feedback on all that.
I had a quick question, and I really appreciate, the kind of immediate jumping in from new board leadership. Thank you, ladies. I was really also really thankful to be asked to join the regionalization ad hoc committee, which I love that we're like really seriously exploring that. I was just wondering, is it possible to get, like, I know that there's many things, like we're going to be working with the borough on the rec plan. Is it possible to get an understanding for everyone about like what some of the committees are, like who's working on them? I mean, I imagine we're going to be talking more about this at the retreat. But like if you have an idea of like what this might look like at this point.
Our goal, particularly for the retreat, is to lay out here's what's ad hoc, here's what's moving, and here's who's going to be on the point for those conversations. Part of it is we want to make sure we have identified who will be at the table for conversations that are upcoming. A lot of the retreat is really level setting. Here's who's doing what, and here's what's moving, and the sequence, we understand them. I do have to say, Fred and Beth Ann, thank you for being gracious with the 1,000 questions and maybe the same question over and over to make sure we're all moving together on timing, what's first, what's second, and how are we going to start to message that amongst the board as well as the community. So the goal is really to help make sure we leave the retreat all clear as to what our roadmap looks like and how we're going to hit the ground running to keep the momentum of the work that's already been underway. So that's certainly on my to-do to actually write it out, and so we can visually look at it, so we're prepared and ask any questions and make sure we haven't missed anything.
Just to add to that, so I was actually going to email and ask if we could talk about that next week, but since if it's okay to talk about it now, that's fine. The two committees that we've talked about so far are the Regionalization Committee and the Facilities Ad Hoc Committees. And I'm not exactly sure yet if we can add any more people to the Regionalization Committee, because so far it's, you and myself and Zakia, and then Danielle, and we were hoping to see if we can add one other person from, Woodland or Oakland if we need 5 for that. But I wasn't sure if you guys were going to be part of those conversations in your own boards, so we'll talk more about that at the retreat. And then the ad hoc committee for the facility so far is myself and Zakia and Maggie, and then Matt and Roger as well. So if anybody has any other suggestions or anything that we need to, Beth Ann and Fred, if you know of any other ad hoc committees that we need to worry about right now. I did want to talk about the possibility of an ad hoc personnel committee if we need to at some point in time. So maybe I'll touch base with you guys after the meeting, or we can talk about what the plan is for that if we have any sensitive issues that like a committee specifically would have to discuss before anything is, presented to the full board.
Could I ask a different question? I'm not seeing it now. I could have sworn I got a text message. I just wanted to follow up. Is there going to be a public update on the secondary campus plan tomorrow night, right? Or did I get that date wrong?
Yes, it's invitation only, and so this is a targeted community session specifically for high school parents, middle school parents, and then all elementary grade 5 parents in Collingswood. We're going to schedule a meeting in Oakland for grade 5 parents, and one in Woodland also for grade 5 parents. And so it's really to kind of share what it is that we're talking about. And to be able to collect feedback and answer questions. So it's more of an information session. There is a group that is working with Dr. Walker of staff that will help with the recommendation process. Right now, we're actively in the data collection phase, talking with students, getting direct student feedback so that we can make formal recommendations. And so we will be providing a summary of the feedback that we've received so far during the February retreat.
Dr. McDowell, what is the data collection from the students? What does that look like? Is it a survey? Is it like focus groups? Like how does that work?
Focus groups.
Focus groups, okay.
Yeah.
And how are those students determined? Like,
Dr. Walker, you want to please join us? Dr. Walker, can you come up so they can hear you on the microphone?
Good evening. Thank you for the question. The high schoolers, they self-selected. Students volunteered to come during their flex period, which was, I wish I had the number in front of me, there were probably 30 or 40 students who came and had a conversation. And for middle school, they were pulled out during PE. So Mr. Skronik said, just had a diverse group. And then I kind of said, what was your sending school? And it was representative of students who started in Collingswood and also started in Oakland. So far, those have been the 2 opportunities. You're welcome. Anything else for the Unified?
I do, yeah. So again, what kind of questions are we asking the students? Because I'm looking forward to the meeting tomorrow night to just hear a little bit more about it, and also I'm curious of what kind of feedback we're asking. I mean, I know tomorrow I will find out, but that's what I'm curious to find out tomorrow night. So what are we like?
It was
kind-
open-ended, quality of life for students, their feelings on things. How would you feel about crossing over when I was talking to the middle schoolers from middle school to high school? What concerns? How was your entry into middle school so far? For the high school, sort of the same. From your perspective, what are things that you think we should consider? So there were just some neutral questions that they asked. There were some pros, and there were some, I wonder. So I have that information. And likewise for families, it'll be very open-ended. What are some things you want us to know? As we're moving to 6 through 12, it could be a question about use of the bathroom to curriculum, and just jotting them down. So if we don't have answers, we'll make sure that anything we haven't thought of is taken into account.
Quick question on that. I'm just and I just trying to gauge like what other places do this 6 to 12 unified campus initiative. Like are there other districts around us? I think Audubon is one that maybe does 7 to 12. Who else does it?
Audubon Heights, they're both 7 to 12.
And throughout the state, I have a list. There are probably, I'm on camera. I want to tell the truth. So I'm going to estimate and say in my handwriting, a legal size piece of paper, front and back, of districts across the state of New Jersey who have middle and high school combined campuses. Not necessarily all here in Camden County, but just from top to bottom. Thank you. And that is tomorrow in the auditorium.
Can we get a time for that?
6:30.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything before we close out?
Really quick, will tomorrow's thing be available online? I know you said no, okay, all right.
We do have the proposed date for Woodland, which will probably be next Thursday, and Oakland probably the following Monday. So I spoke to Jackie Walters, and we're looking at possibly January 29th, Thursday, to meet with the Woodland families, and probably Monday, February 2nd for our Oakland families. You know what? I had that conversation with Jackie Walters and said, should we just target 8th grade? Should we open it up 6, 7, 8, make it wide open? So we would imagine 8th grade families will probably be the ones who come. We wouldn't exclude, anyone who has an idea or comment or just wants to come and sit in and offer feedback.
And how are the invites? How are they just being sent out via email or?
Mrs. Walters, I'm not sure. I know she's sending email. I'm not sure if she's stuffing backpacks as well for her students, or text message, whatever her electronic communication is. And I'm not sure what Jen Bolden's plan is. Here they came through the, Thrill Share, to our families here for grades 5 through high school.
Through our Thrill-Share system, we sent email and text message, so it went to cell phones and email addresses. There's about 38 8th graders in Woodland, and there's about 37-ish 5th graders in Oakland. So.
And what about the current middle school here? How did those invites go out to everyone?
All middle school and all high school families.
Okay, maybe I should check my email.
I want to go back a minute before we close out to the regionalization committee. Beth Ann, can you tell everybody a little bit about that grant so that everybody's on the same page and they have knowledge of it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So during, while we were closed for winter break, the the DOE released 2 grants. One is for a feasibility study to regionalize, and the other one is for expanded shared services. I don't think we need to, we share just about every service we offer. So I think I could show them a thing or two at this point. So the grant for the feasibility study for regionalization, the way it's written is it's a reimbursement, like everything with Trenton. They want you to put the money out first, and then they're going to tell you if they're going to pay you back. So that's kind of how it works. We would have to, it's due April 15th. We would have to obviously have a plan in a feasibility. We would have to have a consultant to do the feasibility study. And then the hammer, so to speak, with submitting for reimbursement to Trenton would be we would have to have an implementation plan. So when we do meet, you know, obviously it needs to, a seriousness is attached to it, that if they are going to reimburse us for the cost of the work for the consultants and whatnot, that a feasibility study would have to be attached. So that's kind of the hammer. It's very light in the details. It's like 3 pages. There isn't, you know, I really haven't gotten into the documents yet. I wanted to go online because I do know 2 school districts have gone through this already. So I wanted to see if their stuff was available publicly. I just haven't had a chance to look yet. But it is due April 15th. And I do know with the regionalization there are a lot of rules, which obviously we would need a consultant. This question came up with the Oakland board, and I pulled what the work that we did back in 2018 when we expanded the send and receive, because it's the same type of consultant that we would need to hire. So I did pull those documents out so I could have them at the ready. But just to have an idea of like what it would cost, we're probably in the neighborhood of $100,000. So what's not clear is, like, does the lead school district put it in, or does each one have to put in for their? That's the devil's in the details, and there's not not much detail in what went out from the Department of Ed. So yeah, so.
I know I spoke about that the other night in Oakland. Was that last night? Yeah, last night.
It was last night. Last night. I know we spent a lot of time together.
And I know we've talked a lot about regionalization in Oakland, but you said so we have to put the money up front because I thought it was a grant that, and then we have to pay if we don't get it. And the second question is, the consultant, is that someone we have to find, or is that someone vetted through the state that they offer?
I believe we have to find. Now, what I don't know is this whole push started with former, I don't know what his title was, Senator Sweetie. And at that time, I thought it was attached to university people doing the work. Yeah, like Rowan and everybody would do it. When we did it locally, we hired a firm that like does this. So that I'm not sure. Because it doesn't say, like when you go in the department, they don't say, pick a, you know, here's a list of vendors, pick one. It's very vague in the details. So I did reach out to the county office to, you know, and I'll reach back out to see if they have any information, but the information's pretty light.
You would think, because right now there's a bill being written, you would think that a lot of companies would be jumping on that, and maybe even universities like Rutgers and Rowan that would try to offer those services, but I know it's coming fast, so.
And I get it's enticing to hire a university to do it, right? But when it gets down to, let's say, the end roads, we would still need a law firm, because there's a lot of laws and regulations we have to meet. I've got the attorney sitting next to me, but there's things that we can't violate when we regionalize, right? Like our demographic status, our financial status, like there's transportation issues. So all of these things, like which teacher contract's left standing at the end. Like all of that has to be worked out, and I would not do that without legal representation and somebody very specialized in that kind of work, because there are, just like when we wanted to expand the send and receive in Oak Glen, we had to prove to the Commissioner of Ed that, I think there was 3 things, like it wasn't going to affect the demographics of either town in a negative manner. Financially, it didn't affect either town in a negative manner, and I forgot what the third ring was. I think there was 3 tests. We have to show that those three, we passed those three tests. I forget what the third one is. It'll probably come to me at 1 o'clock in the morning. But I remember there being three specific things we had to look at. So yeah, so whether we go with the university or not, we would still need an expert at the end to package all that together. I do not. It came out very quickly, and you have like 3 months to like do something, so yeah.
I mean, part of the goal of identifying who's going to be at the table is to try to get to, can we get it together by April 15th, really? So that's the intention, and try to see if we can make it happen, and if it's worth it for everybody involved.
1,000%.
to make it happen.
1,000%.
Right, so that's the intention of that. So just to be clear, we're not presuming we can definitely do it. It will be based on if we can get everybody aligned as quickly as we can.
And so the intention also of getting the consultant would be the firm that would give us examples of how we could regionalize and who we would regionalize with. Is that like what I am?
Correct, and then I believe there's documentation that has to go to the Commissioner of Education. I'm quite sure there's like 1 million board resolutions we would have to pass. And then there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, looking at the attorney, all three you got to vote on it. So those questions have to be drafted to go to the voters. Like, there's all this stuff that only gets done by attorneys. So they would do all that.
And so when we're saying regionalization, we're talking about the schools that we're already with.
Right.
And just trying to combine. Okay, that's what I wasn't.
Right, and again, when we start discussing, it might take on a bigger umbrella, but originally,
That's the
right,
first
the
thought.
three.
Is the three, okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
that
where
was
I
my
like,
thought.
Well, if nobody else is applying, who else are we trying to bring in? Because I already kind of look at it as semi, but I understand
Right.
more, yes, and less
Yeah.
elementary schools. Okay.
We kind of sort of are, we just do it via shared services that are like all over the
But
place.
it would be more of, okay, I
Yeah.
understand. Thank you.
Gotcha.
But am I understanding correctly, a consultant could come in and say feasibility, you need to be looking at these other towns
Yep.
as well?
Yeah.
And then so we would have to, and you said you needed to look into more of the details, so it's okay if you don't have the answer to this now, but
Fair.
if we don't go through with it, or we just don't have an implementation plan, then we are on the hook for it.
I believe it's implementation plan. And our implementation could be, and I'm just making this up because I literally have no idea, but the way I read it, the plan could be, the towns meet, but we come up with a plan, we take it to a vote. If they vote no, then we're done. That was the plan. But like, I don't know. And I'm going to have to rely on the county office in this. They may see the implementation plan to be get it done so that you're regionalized, but, again, if it's still going to a vote, can't force it. So that's kind of where I need a little more information. Where it's really, there's not a lot of information in that 3-page informational thing they put out, so.
I don't want to keep dragging the subject on, but I know you mentioned there's an ad hoc committee, and you'd mentioned all the little nuances of regionalization, but we've spoke about it a lot in Oakland, and one of the big things, one of the big topics is beyond all that is town culture, right? So it would be, some people believe it would be losing face, right? So we have our own little world in Oakland. And if we get absorbed in through regionalization, we lose our face, even though I understand how the board would work and stuff like that. But just keep that in mind, because it's not just the feasibility that you have to convince, it's the community itself. So
I don't think we're presuming that this is everybody saying, yes, it feels like go team, we're done. I think that's actually part of the big part of the conversation. Like, how much are we prepared to, all of us, give up something to get something, and is the something enough, right? Like, is it enough to say, I'm all in? And that's why we wanted to try to bring a group together to start those conversations sooner, to just help be collaborative and also not appear as though we're forcing the hand of the sending districts who are already, right? Like, that isn't the intention either, and you can't. So it's really just saying, are we all in this together and willing to double down on where we already are? So that's the
And to be fair,
intention,
you're
but we
doing
don't
your
presume
jobs,
the
right?
end.
You would be remiss in this budget climate. like all three districts, we all struggle putting our budgets together every year, so we would be remiss if we didn't try to find a solution, long-term. You know?
I do think that once those conversations start happening, though, there definitely needs to be a lot of community engagement for sure. Yeah. Chris, I think you were about to say something before. No? Okay. All right, on that note, if nobody has anything else, I'm just going to move to motion to adjourn the committee of the whole, and that's it.
Yeah, we just
So
did.
moved.
Second.
All right, thank you all for
We have
coming.
to vote on.
All in favor?
Okay, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.